Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about the smallest unit of written expression and understanding, which are words, and how they come together to formulate sentences, talk about the variances and the different types of sentences that are used, and how all of this can amalgamate to affect your academic tone, which we've discussed before, but we'll talk about it a little bit more in depth in relation to sentences and words and the building blocks that we use for written expression and understanding. The agenda is going to be administrative updates and attendance that we covered in the last short video. The lecture video, which is this one and a series of a few others, which will cover academic tone, sentences. I'm hoping to cover focusing ideas and then also covering unity and organization, depending on how much I can fit in these videos and the time I have allowed. We might pick up on some of that in some future videos, but I'm hoping to combine all of that together. These are some of the building blocks that really affect your first paper coming up, the academic essay. In the syllabus, it says personal essay, but it's an academic essay is what we're doing. So the assignment instructions for that have already been posted in its respective folder in Canvas, so you can go out and take a look. I posted it to give everyone approximately 3 weeks, including spring break, to be able to start thinking about the essay, to start working on the essay. And then we will have some writing workshops in class to help and to give you some one-on-one practice with writing that. There will be a reading assignment. As typical, there will be 2 in-class writing assignments, and then that's it. One point I want to make is I want to go ahead and re-emphasize style versus style guides, because when we start thinking about sentences, word choice, grammar, all of these different things that make up or comprise academic tone, that's part of your own unique style, and it's a little bit different than style guides. So I just want to reiterate the difference there between these two elements. Style is defined as the techniques with which writers employ a manner of expressing thought in writing. Say techniques in writing, this refers to punctuation, diction, syntax. When you hear the when you hear the word syntax, that's simply referring to how you order your words, where your descriptors fall in your sentences, how you're typically formulating your sentences by word order. That also includes vocabulary, grammar, sentence, and paragraph structure. So as we go through and start writing, and as we do the in-class writings and the first major paper, you're really exploring your style and ways you can improve your style as well as your academic tone. Every writer's style is somewhat unique. Everyone writes in a different way. Everyone uses punctuation in a different way. Certain vocabulary and vernacular and lexicon finds its way into writing based on, whether or not you're an avid reader, your brain chemistry. There are so many different variables that determine the types of word choices that you select for your writing. And so everyone writes in a slightly different way. So I want everyone to understand that having a unique writing style, your own unique way of combining and employing these techniques you see on the screen, is a good thing. We encourage everyone to maintain your own unique writing style, but the overall or overarching idea is to maintain that unique style with consistency with regards to certain parameters of academic writing. Things that you absolutely have to do while still being unique in your writing style. For instance, the formatting of your documents is one of those things. The types of sentence structures that you use should be more complex, but you can still employ your own writing style. Those types of ideas. This is not to be confused with style guides. So this is the APA, the MLA, the Chicago, the American Medical Association, all of these different types of style guides. Again, style guides are specific parameters regarding how a writer must employ the above elements for a specific discipline. So the style guide is somewhat of a skeleton or a backbone for how you mold your own unique writing style to fit writing for a specific discipline. And so it more or less informs your own unique writing style so that it's consistent across disciplines. And style guides are important because it's a way to somewhat even out or to somewhat bring everyone's unique writing style to a consistent type of level to keep literature consistent across specific disciplines that is well suited for whatever discipline is at hand. For instance, American Medical Association encourages the use of it discourages the use of qualitative descriptors when they're unnecessary. So any fluff words or anything like that, those are often discouraged in lieu of actual factual scientific data, cause and effect relationships, etc. So for us, our style guide is APA, American Psychological Association. We've talked about it briefly, but it is essentially the primary style guide for any of the social behavioral sciences. Most of you guys in your majors, whether it be accounting, education, sport management, any of the STEM sciences, oftentimes you do use APA, and until you get into your various fields within the STEM sciences, and then you'll adopt a different style guide. So all of these style guides are important, but APA is the one that you most often see. One of the most confusing things, I think, is that in high school, they usually teach MLA, Modern Language Association, which is heavily rooted in literature, analytic and critical literature. You won't use MLA unless you're a history, well, not even history, unless you're a philosophy or an English, any of those humanities. You won't use MLA. And so it's a waste of your time. And so what we're looking at is the style guide you're going to see. You're going to see this in the literature within your major, when you're writing research papers in upper division classes. APA is what you will come in contact with. And so I want everyone to have a solid understanding of what that style guide means. Let's touch on academic tone for a moment. And I think the second videos or the second day of class, I touched on academic tone a little bit. I want to circle back so that we all understand what that means, because you're going to see a lot of different words and verbiage coming from me and in the textbook talking about style, style guides, tone. I'm going to introduce a document to you in these sets of videos that will help you start identifying specific issues with your academic tone in your writing. So I want to circle back and just make sure we all understand. So what is tone? The definition of tone, generally speaking, is the character or attitude of a place, piece of writing, situation. As academic tone is the use of style and elements thereof. By elements, I mean those techniques that were on the style slide, in pursuit of establishing credibility, exhibiting logic, and establishing the utmost level of professionalism. When you are writing anything in an academic context, this is your goal, to maintain academic tone. You may not be there yet. There may be several things that you need to work on, but that's fine. That's the point of this class. The impetus of English 110 is to help you understand where your academic tone should be, how you use all of these elements, and to elevate your writing and bridge the gap to get you there. So the use of style and all of these techniques in pursuit of establishing credibility, logic, and reasoning, and establishing utmost level of professionalism. I'm going to show these items again, the techniques specifically: grammar, punctuation, word choice, sentence, paragraph structure, ordering, and logic. So as you can see, there's lots of things you have to break down and analyze when you're writing any type of critical analysis. So in our last slides, we introduced the critical analytical framework, whereby you start academically analyzing situations, prompts, breaking them down into their base elements and looking at relationships. And then from that idea and mentality, you then begin to organize your ideas in a logical way. That's part of academic tone. You would then extract those ideas and create an outline and figure out how you want to order those ideas in the way that makes the most intuitive or logical sense based on your purpose. That's part of academic tone. It's also your actual writing and your sentences. All academic writing has tone, which we just discussed. The other item is dominant impression, which is the overall feel. Style, your own personal and unique style, and then we'll follow a style guide. So these are the baseline elements of what academic tone is. So tone in itself is the actual mechanical use of your sentences, your words. The dominant impression is something slightly new, and I try to liken this to, for instance, a song or a movie. When you finish listening to a certain song, perhaps your favorite song or movie, even if it's a bad movie, you're oftentimes left with an overall impression of what you just experienced. You generally really like it. You're generally shocked. You're generally saddened or disheartened. There's some type of impression or feel that you've gathered from experiencing that content. The same is true with your writing. So you also have your tone, but you also are leaving the audience or the reader with an overall feel based on your content, which is all interrelated. It's based on your tone, it's based on your style. And then you also have your style guide, which keeps all of these items kind of in check. It keeps them together and keeps them consistent and on par with other writers within your discipline. So this is really good to know, just to be able to break these items down and to provide some definitions. So when you start seeing these words come at you in my feedback and comments and in the textbook, you'll somewhat know what they are. And just to provide a few more examples or details, academic tone is professional. It's the antithesis of conversational. So this is the golden standard for any type of writing. It's not conversational. It shouldn't be reflective of any type of spoken word. It's very structured and organized, meaning that there is thought embedded or imbued into all of your writing. It utilizes very formal language. You start shying away from a lot of the words that I'm seeing in many people's writings. For instance, got, get, gotten. There's almost always a stronger verb to use for that particular word. This is also avoiding words such as you, me, my, we, all of those personal words, avoiding referring to the audience or recipient of a piece of writing as you. All of these types of words, in essence, are attaching you to the writing when, again, reiterating the goal is to be objective and removing yourself from the writing itself. And so that's very conversational in nature, and that's what we want to avoid. The writing and sentences are structured and organized. That also includes paragraphs. That includes topic sentences for paragraphs that keep all of your ideas consistent among paragraphs, keep specific ideas isolated to their own units of meaning, their own paragraphs. Very specific wording and details. An instance of this that's a good example would be starting sentences with this or that. Instead of using these types of words, academic writing will find another way to restate or redefine what this or that means. So a common practice would be to avoid this or that in starting sentences, providing all of the details necessary to make your point or to maintain logic and reasoning in your writing. The secret to academic writing truly is in providing the details. Just because you're thinking of it in your mind doesn't mean that the idea is necessarily being translated to the reader. So you always have to take a step back and ask yourself, are all of the details here in this sentence or paragraph or essay, are all of the necessary details there? Are they connected to the overall purpose of what I'm writing? If not, what details do I need to add in? And this is also helpful when you get to the revising and copy editing stage of the academic writing process, to have someone else review your writing, because sometimes you're so closely associated with it since you've been working on it that you fail to realize that maybe some details are missing. Of course, free from any grammatical, syntactical errors. I say this every single video that I record, your writing is not personal in any kind of way. It must be objective, free from bias, emotion, personal connection, etc. The word emotion here in the context of this video is important, because any words that you use, any descriptors in your writing, if they're too overly emotional, if outside of quotes, for instance, then that is exhibiting emotion in your writing and shows that you're attached to that writing in some way on a personal level. It is intrinsic of bias in writing. And so the idea is, for instance, with descriptors, to make them as neutral and objective as possible in academic writing unless necessary. What academic tone is not? Again, it's not conversational. This is essentially the reverse of the last slide. It's not conversational.